Hey, Jim Wolf here, and I want to talk to you today about one of my favorite books called The Genius in All of Us by David Shenk. And if you like the book Outliers, you're definitely going to love The Genius in All of Us. It's kind of like a more academic-oriented Outliers, and it's really cool because he breaks up the book into two parts where the first section is all of the arguments that he's making, and then the second section is all of the evidence for those arguments. So if you want to spend the time going through all the evidence, you can do that as well, but he doesn't make you do that in the first section. And so for me, for the kind of person like me that really likes a lot of evidence, this book is going to be really powerful for you. So I definitely recommend picking it up. And I want to give you 3 really quick things that I learned from this book that you might be able to apply in your real life right now. And the first one is, if there is something that you want to be really good at, if you're trying to become a high achiever in a certain area, one of the most important factors that leads to that kind of success is deliberate practice. And they found this for everything from violinists to professional athletes to artists to writers to pretty much any endeavor that you can think of. Deliberate practice is a key to high achievement. And what deliberate practice means is that instead of practicing to kind of reinforce where you are now in whatever area it is that you're working on, you actually push yourself a little bit further than you are right now every single time you practice. And if you do that, you'll eventually get to a really high level of achievement in that endeavor. And so a lot of times we just practice just to keep doing it, just to reinforce where we are. And this applies not only to achievement, but also to personal growth. We want to kind of stay where we are. It's really comfortable, and we can keep reinforcing that indefinitely. But in order to get to a higher level, we have to grow a little bit beyond where we are now every single time we work on it. And so ask yourself, how can you measurably grow from where you are now and push yourself every single time you practice? And the really hard part about this, obviously, is that causes a lot of pain, suffering, could be physical and emotional pain. And so we don't necessarily want to keep growing because it feels really comfortable to feel competent at the level we're at right now. Like, who wants to actually challenge themselves and go further? Well, the people who achieve the highest levels of success do. And so that's one thing you can start implementing right away. Start growing a little bit every single day, every single time you practice what you're trying to work on right now. Number 2, culture matters. And what he's specifically talking about in this section is the culture of competition. And one of the examples he uses is the rivalry between Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo, and how they really didn't like each other and they put each other down publicly. And that was one of the reasons why they created such good art, because they had a culture of competition. And one other really interesting thing about a culture of competition is that not everybody responds to competition. But what they found that actually helps everyone achieve higher levels of success, even if they're not very competitive, is to make smaller steps in between where you are now and where you want to go, and make it a competition all along the way. So if you lower the bar of competition just a little bit and make every step kind of a fun competition, that drives even people who aren't necessarily that motivated by competition in general. So how can you apply this to your life and your own personal growth? Well, if you're already very competitive, that's going to be easy. Just put yourself in a competitive environment. Make sure that you know other people that are close to your level or above you, and let them kind of pull you forward. And if you don't respond very well to being competitive, then make sure you make smaller achievable targets between where you are now and where you want to go, and you'll gain more momentum that way, and that will motivate you even if you're not very competitive. So if you have a huge vision for your life, make a goal that's just a little bit further away that you can see that you can achieve, and that kind of competition, that kind of motivating force will help you go forward and take the actions that you need to get there. So create a culture of competition in your business, in your classroom, and within yourself. But just make sure it's a healthy kind of competition, and make sure that you're managing those steps along the way so that you don't get burned out. And then the last thing I want to leave you with today is that he talks about how failure should be seen as an opportunity for learning and not a revelation of your innate limits. And he's specifically talking about in grade school, because in schools, sometimes someone doesn't perform well on a particular test, and the whole culture kind of sees that as, oh, this person is not very good at math, or this person is not very good at English, or whatever subject it is. And what he's saying is, no, that's not the way we should be approaching it. When someone fails at something, that's an opportunity for them to learn. And it actually doesn't reveal their innate limits. They can learn it. And how does this apply to your real life? Well, in order for you to achieve higher levels of success, happiness, fulfillment, whatever it is you're working on, you have to stretch yourself beyond your comfort zone. And one way that makes it a little bit easier to do that is to see failure as an opportunity for learning. Because if you see failure as a demonstration or a revelation of who you really are, or some kind of inborn limit or inborn trait, you're not going to be able to keep going. You're not going to be able to keep growing, and you're not going to learn anything, and you're not going to become that person that you want to be, and you're not going to achieve that result that you want. And we don't want that. We want you to be who you are. We want you to get what you want. And so it's really important to start seeing failure as a learning opportunity and not as some kind of inborn limit. And the more you can tolerate this failure, this pain that comes from pushing yourself, the higher you can go. And that's kind of basically your real limit for how much you can achieve in your life. One thing that I like to say is there is no failure, only learning exists. There is no failure, only learning exists. So go grab this book, The Genius in All of Us by David Shenk. Have yourself a great day, and I will talk to you later. Peace. Thanks for checking out The Jim Wolf Show. For my best exclusive content, sign up for my awesome free newsletter at jamesdwolf.com. That's jamesdwolf.com. I'll see you there.